early if you want to grab something like the Paradox, which I believe Paradox is probably going to be picked away B1, but we'll see what happens. I mean, we are getting into draft here, so we'll at least see the bans starting out.
Yeah, we are going to jump into our draft here being brought up on your screen there. We'll see these bans come out, one ban a piece for each of these teams. You guys know how it works. But, yeah, it feels like Paradox has been I half expected Paradox to get a little edging nerf down from how hard she got buffed a couple weeks ago. And instead, she got buffed again a couple days ago. She seems out of control right now.
I think the reason for that is there's so many high damaging characters already in this game that, you know, you can buff Paradox all you want. I think of it as the Dota strategy that Valve developers go for. If everything's busted, nothing is busted, you know?
Right,
That's the idea that I have when it comes to the balancing system that Valve likes to implement is if everything's strong, Viscous is going to get locked in. So let's see it. Viscous and Kelvin. Ooh, also Viscous. Current state Viscous. TF2 Boomers is off to a good start.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And I sat there going, okay, yeah, this is optimal. Reason being, TF2 Boomers, we actually saw Hydra Nation actually ban out the Viscous actually in the previous game. So that's kind of the cool thing to me, that goo ball can be so powerful and kind of breaking out, especially inside the likes of a Kelvin ult. You're just like, you can't really do too much. But the pocket and now the Lady Wraith coming out. TF2 Boomers still kind of setting up their DPS mainstay here. The Lady Wraith can do, Wraith can do a lot of work if given the opportunity. And so I like where they're adjusting, but right now we don't want to see that Abrams branching out. There we go. I like this call. You go ahead, bring in the Mirage. Now you have that flexibility of an extra DPS early. You don't hand that over to Revival.
Yeah, you guys talked a lot about the fact that the damage was lacking on the side of the TF2 Boomers, but still keeping consistent with some crowd control there, not letting it all rest on Wraith's shoulders as well. And Revival, Kelvin, we didn't see him make much of an impact in that first game. And then is there a way for us to be able to tell in the game that Revival just played? I know it was on the other stream, but was Kelvin, I know Kelvin was in that game. Did Revival pick up Kelvin in that game, or was he on the Llama Lords?
Ooh, I would have to double check that, I think.
Can somebody in production help us out with that potentially? But that's an interesting one for me because we saw Kelvin get absolutely crushed in that first one. I'd be curious to know how he did it in that game versus the Llama Lords, and to know if that is I'm curious to know if that's a good pickup or not, because it comes out first pick and it might just be a flex pick, but I got question marks about Kelvin.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think TF2 Boomers and pretty much everybody in Deadlock right now knows what a Kelvin's going to be doing, even if it's on their team, on the enemy team. You're going to know how to counter this character because that's lesson number 2 in Deadlock. Lesson number 1 is how to hit the minions and how to deny. Lesson 2 is how do you deal with a Kelvin because he's in every single game. So, honestly, I don't think it's really going to matter too much unless we see Revival really start to pop those ultimates and really lock these players out. I mean, if he can catch Mirage out before Mirage just, you know, TPs away, gets out of there, or maybe even the Wraith. The problem is the Viscous. Viscous can just say, oh, nice ultimate, Kelvin. We're just in goo now, and there's nothing you can do about it. So overall, I think that it's not the Kelvin I'm going to be looking at. It's going to be the Ivy. It's going to be the Abrams. It's going to be the Pocket who have these high damage outputs, as well as some really clean escape maneuvers that we can see.
Yes, well, I also did just get an answer to our question, and I think you're right. Kelvin is going to not be much of an X factor in this game, but the answer to the question is he was on the Llama Lords last time. So Kelvin picked twice today in both of the matches and has lost both of those times. Now, if you were watching that Llama Lords match, Llama Lords was well ahead, so I don't think that Kelvin is necessarily some threat to your existence on a team. But I think I've spent enough time on Kelvin here, you guys. We've got this Mo and Crow coming through, and that's more control for the TF2 Boomers, plus a little bit of damage and regen.
Well, I think they had to, right? You really do need a little bit extra to follow up behind Viscous, mainly because of the Ivy Abrams. We've seen Ivy be utilized as kind of this flexibility, this create tension, create this silliness that we've seen across a lot of these Deadlock games. And then you pair that with the Lash. I mean, this can create an ultimate wombo combo if given this right opportunity. Revival for their own, I do want to see one more DPS to come out at the very end. If you're gonna go McGinnis, I don't know if it really synergizes safety factor, but there is the Dynamo, a final piece of that puzzle. Bring in that hard CC, bring in that singularity. So TF2 Boomers taking a piece back, but Revival, we need a little bit more raw output right now. I know we were talking about the Abrams, the Lash, the Ivy, they can do work. I need to see that raw DPS to come out.
Yeah, I mean, if we do see Revival lock in an Infernus, then they have that damage. If they can lock in an Infernus, maybe even, you know, go damage 7 for more team fight potential, that's definitely on the table. TF2 Boomers, I think they're suffering from the same problem they had last game with their picks, though. This is very tank forward. This is very much a team comp that I don't see a lot of damage being dealt by this composition compared to Revival, especially as Revival is hopefully going to be locking in that final DPS.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as well. I think that it's also interesting that we have 2 bans and 11 picks so far, and none of those have been Infernus or 7. And actually, a Lady Geist last
really
pick
good.
from Revival. That is that raw damage output that you were talking about, and that lends to some of the tankiness as well. She loves to farm. She scales well. That's a big pickup from Revival to close it out.
Oh man, I like this. I like this. I mean, Lady Geist has slowly risen in priority for a lot of people as well. I mean, some of the adjustments to some of the other heroes has really set Lady Geist up and above. And granted, it may not be as I want to say as snappy, right? We've seen some snappy DPS come out, but this is that. If we get into a fight or anything like that, we're gonna see that slow burn, and you're just like, oh crap, this is going downhill fast. But the raw output as well, as much as I like to talk, if Revival are able to get ahead, start bringing some damage to the table, all of a sudden TF2 Boomers, like you said, Edu, things are going to go sideways for them if they are not careful of this early stage once again.
Yeah, I think, again, it is going to come down to that damage that you were just saying. But overall, let me ask you this, and I'm going to pose this question over to Big D. Which team composition do you like more? Don't even think about the teams that are behind it. Just think about how these characters synergize with each other. Who would you put your money on if you're like, had no idea which of these 2 teams, what their history is, just on paper, what these characters could do? Where would you put them?
Okay, so I'm covering up these little names at the bottom and just looking at the pictures there. I thank you for asking that, because I was just thinking about it, and I think that Revival has got weirdly enough, they've got the better lineup. That Lady Geist final pick really hits all the marks of being able to output the damage and harass in lane. That's the thing, is there's a really strong laning presence across the board from Revival. It feels like maybe not Pocket so much, as Pocket seems to keep getting weird nerfs that make him a little bit challenging to handle in lane. But TF2 Boomers just on the other side. Again, it is the same problem that they faced against Hydra Nation. There is not enough damage output, but we talked a little bit between breaks as well that Deadlock is more like Dota, where these characters can all build differently into every different combination. So there's a lot of flexibility on these characters. We might see a high damage Warden or Dynamo, but I just think Revival's got the better lineup here.
All right. You know what?
Yeah.
I'll go the other way. I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna believe in TF2 Boomers. I'm going to believe in the fact that they won the previous match. That's my sole benefit. I do agree. Once again, it lends to the fact that, hey, you don't really have amazing damage output, and we really need to see the Mirage and Wraith kick things off early. But if you played against Hydra Nation already, you know that you do need that good laning phase. So I expect TF2 Boomers to have that wrapped in their mind. We're going to play our own style, but we need to kick it up a notch. We need to be very aware of rotations, and we need to try and make laning-centric moves to keep our DPS up. Like, you have to identify that these are your priorities. With the Viscous in hand as well, I do expect the Goo Ball to be silly, and I expect the level of safety to come out behind. So I think TF2 Boomers, for their own, yes, they got rolled in the upper winners finals. They're hoping to make a revamp. I think TF2 Boomers are going to sit there and go, we're going to try and take the dub.
Okay, so we got one for Revival. We got one for TF2 Boomers. Educautious, you're the deciding vote here. Who do you got between these 2 teams? Same question. No background history, nothing.
We're throwing Edgy's question back at him, by the way.
Yeah, right back at you, Edgy.
When I was asking that, I'm a Dynamo main. I think Viscous is just insanely strong right now. Dynamo and Viscous, with Mo and Krill as the lurking stun, they have so much gank potential. Obviously, the Mo and Krill is going to be picking up the same play style that the Kelvin does, especially once they get the ultimate online. The CC alone from TF2 Boomers, this team, the CC from these 6 characters pretty much tells me that if a fight does break out, if you're playing a character like Lady Geist, yeah, she does a ton of damage, but she has to be nearly pixel perfect with her HP timing, and that timing gets robbed by 1 stun. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. So if you put a lot of money on the Lady Geist for being able to do damage, well, she's got to get low. And when you get low, 1 CC, you're gone. So I think that leaves me to say TF2 Boomers team comp is what I would favor. Early game, though, Revival should be able to take it in the early game. It's the late game that's going to really seal the deal here.
I think you're right. Lady Geist, very. You know what? I feel a little backed against a corner here, 2v1, but that's fine. I think you are right, and you make some good points. I think that on the flip side of this, Lady Geist can very easily be free food for such a CC heavy lineup like TF2 Boomers. So when they're putting so much pressure on her to be the main source of damage in this lineup and really carry the game late, there's a lot of pressure on her, and we've seen multiple times when. Throughout these last couple of months of Deadlock tournaments, we've seen those situations where teams put one singular focus in how to win a game in their lineup, and it really falls apart because the other team identifies that quickly. So you could be right, but you know what? I'm sticking to my guns. I still think it's gonna be Revival, and then yeah, we've got the players as well. Do any of these lanes jump out at you that we just got handed to us that you could share with some of our viewers at home?
Oh. Well, honestly, not really too crazy about this. When I'm looking at, obviously we know that the lanes are going to be swapped, but it's the players that are on what. Salty being on Mo and Krill, Boink being on Dynamo. Those 2 players I got to meet recently, and honestly, I think that they got a really good head on their shoulders. So it's going to be their CC that kind of decides the game. So it's about the characters here that matter most. When I look over at Frog on the Kelvin, we might be looking at this character as we're now getting into the game, really showcase what this player can actually do.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, fellas, enjoy the game, and we'll be back for more after that. Take us away.
Yeah, we on here, Edgy. We're going to have some fun. TF2 Boomers going to try their best. But the one lane that really did jump out is, once again, Lady Geist versus the Mirage. You get the start here. Of course, Visca's helping out, make sure the lane presses up forward. Love this kind of adjustments for those solo laners. But in the start here, TF2 Boomers, I'm sitting there going, I really do want to watch the Mirage versus Lady Geist, because I think whoever wins out this laning phase is going to have that handle through the early, through the mid.
Yeah, and already you can see Viscous here going to be laning up, and I like the fact that we're seeing the split that we have, but again, what did TF2 Boomers really struggle with in that early game? And that was just the fact that they were getting picked off so much here by a poke team, by that previous lineup. So having the Viscous to keep them alive, having, you know, a new composition to really, you know, try to avoid that early congestion, I think that it does favor them in this, but already we're seeing that damage being outputted pretty well. Luckily, it's a team that has a lot more healing.
And you can go ahead and see this kind of breakaway with the souls. You can see this Wraith going ahead, trying to tag out 951 in hand. HP bar is all pretty safe. The only one that's that I'm a little bit worried about is the Kelvin. I mean, I think we saw the Kelvin die last time as well, but the chase in means that this DPS is going to come out. The Warden stepping up as well, but chance timings as all of a sudden Dynamo in a rough position. 320 on their own number, but being covered pretty well as they're going to try and pick up that last little guy. There it is.
Yeah, and while we're looking at the last hit skill that these players have, let's look at the HP. That Lash was almost down to nothing right now, so you can tell a lot of harassment is getting thrown out by TF2 Boomers in a pretty stagnant way, and hopefully they can actually find more opportunities, because that Lash is not going to get as much farm, and that's why we're seeing them kind of fall behind in their lane. But overall, it's the Abrams here who is just getting so much cash right now, landing every single last hit, kind of being uncontested thanks to the Ivy heal, and having more than enough time to go and take these side camps. This is the lead that is kind of pushing them over the edge, even if that Lash might be not getting the best in their lane.
For right now, though, Mo and Krill now a little bit low on that on the outer ring, just saying hello. And honestly, a much slower pace start here. And I think we were mentioning the fact that for TF2 Boomers, we want to see them off to a pretty grand start. You know, kind of kick things up. But it's a quiet start. I mean, we're still waiting for that first blood. Does either side really benefit from this? Because, I mean, at this point, it almost feels like both sides are saying, we can play towards mid game instead.
Yeah, but going into this game, I'm also going to be looking at, you know, hopefully some real lockdowns with a few of these players. I also want to kind of focus up on the ultimates that are going to be coming online soon. The Geist already starting to get herself low, but I think that's the main bait of being able to recognize your character's curve and knowing when you're going to be exploding outward. And right now is that time. They're already jumping on these players. The Warden's starting to do damage, and the first blood will be coming out. So yeah, Fickle Frog falls. There we go. Beautifully played here by the Wraith.
So is Kelvin just a bait now? Is anyone that picks Kelvin gets first blooded? Is that the... No, I don't think that happened in game 1 either of the day. But still, it hurts a little bit. You picked up this Kelvin. It was your first pick, and you're saying, hey, we want to get that lead. And instead, you get flushed out pretty early, especially against the Viscous as well. So very neatly done right now by the side of TF2 Boomers. As we're seeing the slight adjustments come through. Remember, first blood is big, but it's not the game-ending moment.
Yeah, it's the third, it's the second, it's the fourth. It's those bloods that come in afterwards. It's not a drop, it's a puddle. Once it's a puddle, it's a river. That's when the blood really matters here. But right now, you still have a player that's not in the lane, that's not farming, that's not scaring away TF2 Boomers. So they are going to keep that momentum with them pretty much for the rest of the early game stage. If we don't see an immediate shift in maybe a gank coming out, I would hope that the Kelvin coming back from spawn can maybe gank one of these lanes for his team.
Right now, he's actually saying we just need to protect the Guardian a little bit more, staying in the middle. And you see on the side of TF2 Boomers, they have a couple members floating into that mid, trying to gather a couple extra camps and just seeing what else is there. Viscous setting themselves up neatly here, seeing the Ivy flying around, saying, who can we actually hit? But instead, the Ivy leaves, allowing the Guardian, the Sapphire Guardian, to actually be taken down by about 33%.
Not too shabby here. So doing a little bit of damage,
chase.
but now it's the ultimate. Oh, big slam. This could be a dead Mo and Krill, but it's a big could be because of that Ivy just pushing him back a little bit, and no, does not find the kill there. Very unfortunate that the Mo and Krill gets to walk away from an ultimate. That's a big investment with no return on it.
But of course, for you're looking at the other side, you're looking at TF2 Boomers, and they're like, this is great. Right now, though, the laser down as the Warden went a little bit too far, down to about 400, which is very, very doable. And on the other end, we're looking at Wraith saying, oh, crap, maybe I can't be here. Has to teleport away to safety. Doesn't look like anyone's chasing, so you at least leave your life. But no, that's going to be Goober, the Abrams, slamming down on tankman, as tankman can't do anything.
There we go. Looking at a decent round overall here for TF2 Boomers. A complete shift compared to the last one. Now you see the pocket being able to just get out of that position, but now they're out of the lane, and we see even more farm being built up. And yeah, this is a close game, though. 24K to 24K. Not much of a gap between these two teams, thanks to just really solid positioning, as well as just lane control. Both teams doing all right. And surprise, surprise, Revival keeping it real. But now, finally, the Kelvin starts with the ganks.
Yep, huge gank coming in with the laser out as well. DPS going down, but Singularity draws you in, so this might be the turnaround. You bring the damage right back on top of them, but the shelter brings about the pain. A little bit of lift off in the air, and put your hands up as high as you can, but the pocket, unfortunately, is brought out of pocket, as the damage is just too great. Out goes Kelvin, as Kelvin is unable to do anything but watch as you are gone. You're able to take one with you, but it's still the team fight one for TF2 Boomers.
Wow. Unfortunate, though, the Kelvin was able to take out the Dynamo at the very last breath there, but needless to say, it was a great fight for either side. The gang's coming through. Amazing ultimate from the Dynamo. That's why you pick that character, being able to just completely shut down a Kelvin like this. So overall, solid gameplay. And now, with that opening space, you're going to see more of the side lanes getting capped. You're going to see more of the lead starting to develop, as a 1K soul deficit is already starting here.
Now, keep in mind, at this point in our winners final side, TF2 Boomers are already down pretty dang far, but right now they are holding steady. Ivy versus the Viscous, though, bringing about a little bit of scare. Damage coming out, though, as Ivy is like, oh crap, maybe I can't really stay here. This is a little bit of a problem. So, not able to chase as the Viscous is able to get away. The goo ball keeping him safe in the getaway.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm glad that we're seeing just some amazing gameplay from the Viscus there. That save, he was able to get out with 1 HP thanks to that mobility that he has. But again, early round, we've already seen one Guardian fall. We might see a second one soon, as we're seeing this lane getting completely shattered here by the 3 players. And yeah, it's going to be a new Guardian to fall. And the opening here from the Viscus to just do some more damage, find some more picks. And yeah, there's one. Fickle Frog is the Kelvin that is unfortunately not adding a lot besides deaths.
We hate saying that, by the way, but the reality has to be put in front right now. The Kelvin is losing their way, and in that same moment, that's why I think we saw that gank go sideways. You didn't have much to your name. The pocket getting chased out here, though, has to run. Trying to get through some of the alleyways, as this is a little bit of a chase by the Moat and Krill. High ground now being taken, as I think this might be a little bit too far for them to push. TF2 Boomers don't want to overextend, but the disarm might do the work. Now getting chased out 650. This test on the edge is feeling okay for the pocket.
Yeah, honestly, not too shabby here. We're seeing TF2 Boomers. They're taking objectives, they're taking rounds, and now they're taking fights with another pick on it. No way. This could be a dead pocket as well.
And I think it is. That's going to be the finish. However, you just mentioned the rest of the map being taken. And I think that's what's going to happen. TF2 Boomers say, cool, we cleaned up 2 very neatly. Let's go ahead, take a 3rd Guardian. You lose one on the out left, but it's going to be okay. Last stand ready to go, though. Latch together as they charge right underneath the Guardian. Guardian does not do enough work, and it's going to be death and destruction. Low HP on the lady guys finally going down, as that will be a Deathy and squad to finish him off.
Wow. Just wow. What a play coming out here from TF2 Boomers. I mean, you saw that Warden preparing himself, using that mini-map as info, but then the Ivy just shows up, he pops his ultimate, and boom, goes the dynamite. That is now a 9k lead. Every single Guardian has fallen, and it's compared to just 1 for the side of Revival. So, Orbital, I don't know. This could be a shift in meta, a shift for TF2 Boomers, and I was saying that maybe Revival had a better early game, and they didn't prove it. Even if their comp suggested it, that Kelvin 1 in 4 is not going to be able to offer the gank potential that we really needed to see.
I think that's fair, but we also have to remember Revival quite literally did not win their lower bracket semifinals matchup until the very end, where they stole the reju off, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna get that dub. Right now, though, it's Boing saying, you're not stealing anything. I'm stealing lives here. Little bit of that case in point. The hard chase out as a pocket can do nothing here. Heals up for this little catch, as River says hello as well. Alju goes down, and it's 2 eliminated for 1 as TF2 Boomers once again win in the mid.
Wow. Winning out in the mid, pretty dang solid. Obviously, we do see 1 player fall 1 for 1, but it's the objective gameplay that they're winning outright. But now the Abrams has been spending most of the game farming here. Might be able to find some picks as the slam down dunks right on top of the Wraith. The punches will be online, but that is going to be a kill for the Abrams. But will the trade come through? Almost guaranteed.
Yeah, and again, Abrams building a lot more on the attacking side. You saw some of the itemizations come through, and a lot more heavily invested instead of the util, so really trying to go for that 1v1 DPS output. Taking a look here as well, a little bit more spirit on the lash, also ensuring that you have a solid damage profile. But you're leveraging your damage output in kind of different ways, so those pieces are now watching as Mirage has to run away, drop down to about half. You are burning a little bit alive, and that HP drops ever further, but the Ivy and more follow through on Salty, as Salty can do nothing. The Moat and Krill 2 for 1 special. TF2 Boomers lose that one.
Wow. So clean. But with TF2 Boomers now kind of just having their back and forth fights, I am going to be looking at potentially a comeback here from the Abrams gameplay. Getting that kill was pretty big, even if he did get traded outright. He did take out someone worth a lot more than he. So overall, he's also getting a lot of space to take out these objectives. He's playing it all right, but we can see that change as the fights are starting to break out. The Ivy barely gets out of there.
And right now, we're just watching as every player is kind of scrambling as the Guardians fall left, right, and center. We already have Walker down as well, which I just now noticed. We're watching the speed at which TF2 Boomers are trying to open up those flex slots, really trying to ensure that you get extra. This is about to be a chance, as well as the Sapphire Walker is also getting punished here. Oh, this is going to be dangerous, as that's a punch in. Huge damage output, as that's a loss of the Wraith. TF2 Boomers may have stepped on a landmine here. Lady Guys falls as well. And it's a 2-for-1 right in front of the Walker. Revivals say you don't get that one for free.
Wow, just so clean, so good here. An urn's now going to get picked up. This is the chance of recovery. That's what the urn is for. It's to make it so this 3K lead, it's just going to shift. But wait a minute, this flank, this gank, beautiful observing, by the way. They're going to jump right on that Kelvin. And yeah, Kelvin, you might be just feeding right now. Another death here. Absolutely free. Fickle Frog can't even leave the spawn room.
And remember, the Kelvin was the one that Revival were hoping to utilize here in the early and mid. It was a B1. Without it, you are left slightly alone, or as we say, the Lash goes, we don't need the Kelvin as much. You grab the Viscus, you take out the Utah on the back end, and TF2 Boomers lose their own tools as well. Very nice catches for Revival in the wake of Kelvin's death.
There we go. In the wake, we're seeing just more util fall as a decent pickup there could be the start at recovery, as we're now tied 7-7. The urn slowly shifting its way to get this money back in. Great movement from this blue side. Hopefully Revival can keep that namesake up, because honestly, the early game's over. We're 14 minutes in here. It's now time for them to just get into the mid game, start fighting for those mid bosses, and start fighting for just overall map control.
And I like this play as well. Once the urn is capped, you need to go ahead and buy. But Goober says, we don't even have to worry about that. Let's keep taking and increasing our soul count by taking out some of the other Guardians. Right now, it is 3 Guardians to 4 with 1 Walker in hand. But once again, this is Revival. It's going to be building in. They have now been able to match a lot of the soul leads, but Deathy says, souls or not, I'm going to chase. Look at the speed of that kill. Deathy able to run down Lady Geist, and now the Kelvin slowly working their way over towards that inner left lane as well. Looking for a collapse as that fight is going to break out here. Question marks abound as TF2 Boomers recognize they might not be in the right spot, but they are winning. Abrams actually decided to go in, but was not able to win. And now the race saying more fights are breaking out. Lash on the back end, able to take down Tankman, and it's a 4-kill streak for the Lash, beautifully done by Grave. Now, how many more can you find behind? There has to be more death, but TF2 Boomers rightly disengaging at a pretty quick pace.
Wow, just so damn clean of a recovery here from Revival. But overall, when we're seeing pick after pick in the trades, the fact that the Abrams getting traded out for the Warden, you'd want the Abrams to really be the one to get these kills and get the farm, but you're letting the Lash start farming. He's the lead right now in the money. He can do the damage. I mean, everybody here knows about a Lash damage build, but with another urn picked up here by Revival, they're going to still just keep trying to farm these urns, farming the mid-game recovery. But what is TF2 Boomers going to do? If they can jump on this pocket, that's going to be a huge opportunity to kill off one of the strongest DPS, but instead, they're going to just lose their Wraith.
I feel like this was seen a little bit further as well. River knew that there was a huge collapse coming in here. Revival were not quiet about the 4-player stack, and now it's going to be a chance back. Take a look at where the Mirage is coming in. They're going to look at a flex of 2 to try and push them off this Walker, and it looks like they have. Thankfully, the Revival, I don't think, are going to allocate more members than 1, because look at that inner right side push. This is kind of the fun of learning about the macro of the game. Are you going to push? Are you going to defend? You have to make some choices.
There we go. Got to make some choices here, and I think the choice might be mid-boss coming around soon. You do have the urn, you have the lead being lost, you have a lot that Revival is kind of missing out on. They're not really getting the gist of it. I think that we need to start turning this game, if you're TF2 Boomers, you have to understand, it's not the early game anymore, and they're still playing like it. They're still just pushing lanes, they're still just farming some minions, and it's causing them to lose a lot of their util as a friendly Walker is now down. Another objective just completely getting just shattered through, but TF2 Boomers, they're letting these urns get capped.
I mean, they are, but at the same time, they were able to match. So that's going to be, I believe, a total of 2 Walkers in favor of Boomers. And now they can look to collapse out at other lanes. Actually transferred over to the left, but the fight underneath as a Warden. And the Abrams fight, and Tankman is not going to live. The Abrams says, read this book and sit down. Go back to school. It is a 4-man push now on the inner right side. And I don't think TF2 Boomers are aware. They're going to try and look at it. A little bit of a collapse in. The Viscus is holding the line a little bit longer. The rest of TF2 Boomers going ahead and buying up and now ready for this fight. Long range bullets. The Viscus trying to hold it down here right from mid-boss spawn. And are they going to find anyone? That's the question. Pings go down here. TF2 Boomers are able to push Revival back.
Here we go. pretty solid to push him back in this moment. And now we're seeing a Wraith grabbing one. But there's a big fight coming out. And the rotates. You're looking at that mini map. It is hectic right now. In Orbital, we're seeing a lot of ults. We're seeing a lot of stuns. And Lash can't get out. Salty's going to be able to get the pick down. Beautifully played. But a Walker's falling for the cost of it. That's an open space. But is it worth the kills? Is it worth the fights? His ultimates are flowing everywhere. And it's just pick battle. But I don't think anybody else is really going to get grabbed here.
I mean, that was the first congregation that we've seen of just about every single member, and yet it was only one death, and you called it out. The Walker fell on the other side, so this macro is being left on the wayside, and every time it is, it's just, I have to agree, there is damage, and that's going to be another catch. The pocket getting taken quite low, but goes inside the briefcase, able to stall out for a little bit. TF2 Boomers all low, and they need to assist, but Deathy can't do anything as a slam comes in. Massive slam down on top, trying to catch out a few more members as they can, and they force them all back. So Revival created enough space to start aggressing on the Amber Walker. Once again, Revival, the first to group up, the first to really put their foot down and say, we are into the mid game. Looking at that end, we are left with a single Walker on both ends. Nay, belay that, 0 for TF2 Boomers.
Wow, just insanity here. And we do see that the Mirage fell, but overall this is a very close game, and now a good catch up here. Everybody's trying to grab everybody, but who's actually going to be able to survive? Can they get the Viscous out? The 180 to just absolutely shatter the Pocket's dreams with an ultimate here. And now mid boss is here for the taking, but they finish off the Ivy. They have to keep fighting, but are they going to actually grab these players out? No, the stun does not connect onto the Geist, but oh my god, this is just a brawl city right now. This alleyway is getting beaten up. Batman's parents are in here somewhere.
That's mean. That's mean, but so real. Right now, there is death ballooning here, and Revival. The fact that they're able to get away from a lot of these and the mid boss is now just being tested, I think is a win for them. Now they can regroup, they can wait for Pocket to come back out and maybe get a little bit of peace. Remember, Revival have more souls. They've been able to buy up. Their damage output is probably going to be a little bit more stable, and maybe they can finally use the Kelvin to really branch in for some of those kills. TF2 Boomers have to realize that things are not looking their way, and it's only going to get a little bit worse. Right now, we are watching this Mirage try and throw it down, but the Kelvin on the high ground with the beam, trying to chase them out and slows them all down. Looks like they caught him. They caught Deathy once again, and this is how Revival were able to take over last time. Now a little bit of a goo ball going out, but you kill the goo ball as well. You sweep them up into contamination, and Rundus says run it up. 2 dead for long. That time has been mid boss is all theirs.
Wow. Just wow, mid boss completely free here for Revival, and wow, TF2 Boomers, I mean, this is a kind of a repeat of that lower game where they were losing pretty heavily in the early game, but Revival is able to turn that one around too. They just are a late game demon. So Orbital with Revival now having the Rejuvenator, they got the revives up. I think they can actually just finish off this game. They've already done so much damage thanks to the little lurkings, the little rat split pushing that's been going on during these team fights, that they could just walk it down.
I really hope they do. I mean, they group so well. All they have to do is temper, I think, some of the waves here and make sure that they're not going to get forced on if they make like a little bit of a misread. Remember, last time in the lower semifinals, they were able to get the rejuve, and then they lost it all. They got ace, pretty much. And they were like, ah, crap, okay, well, thankfully, we got the rejuve. They don't want to let that happen here. They don't want to watch their base crumble in front of their eyes. So there you go. Waves on the outers, push. Now they can start regrouping with the rest of the team, buy up appropriately. And if we can take a look at the item scaling, I want to see where everyone is in their builds, because I'm sure the itemization, we're starting to see those third tier items come out here. We're starting to see those equipment pieces really lock up as we see a left side lean here for Revival.
There we go. So with that lean coming out, what's the plan? It looks like they are just going for more urns, trying to get even more of a gap here. And yeah, we're just seeing an urn simulator from this Abrams. I think he's been only on the urn for most of the game here. To be honest with you, I need to see if he can do more than just urn collecting, because right now, yes, it has been very critical in them turning this game around, but I don't know. I feel like we're going to need to see them actually start fighting, especially while they still have the Rejuvenator up.
Well, right now they're looking to drop on in, and even on TF2 Boomer side, they know that this is going to be big and scary. They're waiting off on the wings, just saying, what can you do? Mirage is spotted out here. This is going to be dangerous. Lady Guys trying to throw down, and they do. They found Deathy, who stepped up a little bit too quickly, and down they go, but the sun on the back end means Lady Guys is caught. There's no way. You talked about it before, Edgy. You said that you got to just stun them out, but the singularity draws them all in, and it looks like TF2 Boomers are going to try their own simulation of the Wombo combo, and they annihilate 2, but it's a 2 for 2. Goo Ball able to stay safe. Mirror Man saying, please don't kill me, but I'm gonna try and kill you. Goo them all up here, chase out through the gates, and it's gonna be death blossoming for TF2 Boomers as they lose 4 in the engagement. Oh, it's continuing. It's continuing ever further. That's 5 down. Grave says thank you very much. Revival win a massive teamfight and storm the base.
Just insane. The fact that Revival was able to turn that around even after all the ultimates. I thought that they were going to lose more, but it's just the Rejuvenator. They're all up now. They're going to just continue to push this in, and that could be game. They're going to be holding that W key for a good reason here, as they have nothing to fear. This has been, honestly, an insane recovery from them, and now TF2 Boomers has a good shot at getting knocked out of the entire tournament.
I mean, I have a feeling they have a little bit of time right now. The Weakened Patron will fall, but that's going to give enough time for the Dynamo, for the Mo and Krill, maybe for the Warden to come back up. Ultimates are going to be utilized here as you can see the Viscous trying to roll their way out to a stall. And it looks like it is going to happen. Take a look at the mini-map right now. Revival is saying, okay, we got way more than we thought. We won the team fight. We have the Weakened Patron, but don't get it twisted. If we let ourselves get too ahead, we know exactly how a game can end off of overconfidence.
Wow. Now, overconfidence is definitely something that I have yet to see Revival showcase. They're definitely playing this game smart. Going for so many earned plays, taking their time, just collecting the bounce back with their patience is why TF2 Boomers is actually going to be running into a big issue here. You have most of the side lanes being farmed. You have very limited utility left. So overall, I'm a bit concerned here. I think this could be a turnaround of the ages.
I'm going to have to lean into you here as well. TF2 Boomers, I mean, they have a couple shots here. And they have pieces of that, of just that, I don't know what else to say, that gumption? I don't know what else to put as well. Like, I want to see them try and show up here. But right now, the recoordination. Take a look where they're spread it out. We can see 4 on the left side lean. We got solo lanes trying to be covered here, trying to put a little bit more soul farming into the Mirage, who is sitting at about 27,000. A little bit higher for the rest of the team, but the rate as well at 30K. So everyone getting their last little bits of equipment before this last earn run as well. Oh, what a catch. Did they actually catch?
Yeah.
Did they catch? Did they catch? They feel it. TF2 Boomers, they're chasing. They're like, man, we have an option if we can, but you don't get the kill.
Yeah, don't get the kill quite yet. But here's the thing. We do see that this team does not have the Rejuvenator anymore, so that confidence is losing. And now they don't have their Lash. A huge jump on. And there we go. Finally, some picks to trade it out. There goes the Mo and Krill. Salty is down, and it's 1 for 1. But I don't know. An ultimate from the Warden here to scare these players off might be able to just get their team out of there thanks to it. But that was a little bit too expensive for the TF2 Boomers, as now for the next 2 minutes, there's no Warden ult.
Honestly, I'm sitting here and I have a feeling the players have all entered endgame extremely quickly. We talked about them not really identifying that we moved from early to mid, but the endgame has reached them at an expeditious rate. That's why we're seeing a lot of these kills not be followed up on. You have to be confident. You have to be 60 to 70 to 80% confident that you are able to take this fight with the rest of your team. With the certain drop, though, taking a look at the eyes, keep eyes on where this Kelvin decides to go. Remember, Kelvin has actually been picked off one too many times, I think, for Revival's liking. So now you get the body block. Now you get the defensive, but you don't have the pathway up. So you have to haul your butt across the entire way.
Wow. Just wow. And honestly, now with the patrons being weak, now with the opening of this game, welcome back to Earn Simulator.
Fourth in the series, by the way. Fourth iteration.
Here's the thing, it's only Revival going for the earns a lot of the time. I think TF2 Boomers made a big misplay in the middle of this game when they were deciding, okay, let's just keep farming what we're doing, and kind of neglected the earn, because Revival's been playing around it so much that most of the money that they've been getting to really swing them has been these plays. I mean, they have the same amount of kills as TF2 Boomers.
I mean, yeah, it's just been that touch, but you can see the soul swing right now. Heavy on the Spirit Rush for Revival. They have all the Spirit in the world as well. But that's what we're watching for. Right now, it's a gathering of the ages. Revival ready for one hard push. Goober ready to go with the slam, with the DPS if they need. But it's going to be that singularity possibly popping out. There we go. Bring them all into the center. Looks like he caught them all. Revival lose 2 in an immediate fashion. Deathy and Boing say, yo, you can't team fight us as well as you would like. It's going to be the rest, though. Revival backing away as quickly as possible. Can they catch anyone out? And so far, everyone on TF2 Boomers is still alive. Mirror Man said, yo, I got the goo and I got the save. Grave is gone. You called it, Edgy. You said TF2 Boomers have that work for them, and Revival did not respect it.
Wow, just so clean. They used a lot of ults there. I gotta hand it to them. They do have the Wardens back up, but now if they take the mid boss, they don't really have to worry about much. Boink is gonna go bank the soul urn. The mid boss is gonna fall, and now they are back in this game. 195k souls to 195k souls. Rejuvenator going over to TF2 Boomers. Everything is favoring this team right now. TF2 Boomers, all they have to do is just get that gap. Take out the last two objectives before the main base, before the patron, and we're gonna be in a tied game 100%.
I mean, TF2 Boomers, though, they do have that feeling of we can't mess up. If we mess up once, we lose everything. You are on a weakened patron state that a single slip-up means you are just gone. Completely gone here. So I'm just... Revival, they've been in this situation before, and this is going to be a little bit of a catch. Punching him out. Lady guys, I don't think he can get away. You want to get that swap out, but the HP swap isn't going to bring too much to your own. Both were low enough that you just kind of back away now, but the chase afterwards means death beyond. Viscous is down. Rejuve is going to be available, but this is a huge win for Revival. They found the chase, they found the kills, and they take 2 Rejuves out.
Wow. Now, taking those 2 out, obviously they will be able to come back pretty quick, but that also means they caught a lot of money. We're in the late game now, so everybody's worth a hell of souls.
Push.
But
oh no!
Big push, big grab, Orbital. What's happening here?
TF2 Boomers are late. They're late to get back to the base. They lost 2 members on the outside flank, and that means Revival are going to push. They said they needed just 1 moment, and they're going to take the Patron. Patron's gone. Revival sniped the victory once again.
No way do they get away with that. They get 2, and then they get the game while 4 players still had Revival up and Ultimates up. They lost on that with nothing but a misplay, poor positioning, and amazing flank rat plays. I mean, the last time I saw something like this happen was back in Dota days when you had Admiral on the Nature's Prophet invent Rat Dota. It's just Rat Dota, but Deadlock. It's Rat Deadlock.
But this is also highlights the need to understand macro. Take a look at these stats. We tied it out at 1 point. Keep that in mind. We saw TF2 Boomers. They were outputting a decent amount of damage. They got up to the same soul score. We were neck and neck at 204 for both sides. And yet, the macro was what broke the camel's back. At the late game, I said a singular mistake can make it happen. And it was right there. Even though Tankman had 6 kills to their name, it did not matter.
Wow. Just wow. I mean, honestly, what a set here for this team. Revival knocking out the people that knocked them down. Insane recovery here in the lowers, but I gotta know, what does Big D think about that? That was a pretty interesting game. Big D, how do you feel about Rat Deadlock?
Well, first off, I want to say I appreciate the Admiral Bulldog reference. Shout out there. You know, still doing his thing over there in Dota 2. I'm curious to see if he'll make the switch someday, but I'm absolutely blown away. I mean, that was back and forth, and then we had I was watching that. I was watching the fight explode. The mid boss gets taken. I think I looked away for like 10 seconds, and then I looked back, and all of a sudden, Revival's just in the base, and the patron's gone, and I'm like, oh, yeah, Revival did it. Look at that. Absolutely incredible.
It leans into what they did earlier as well. I don't want to say this was an isolated incident. This was not Revival saying, oh, we have the opportunity. It was a big window. They were effectively, from early to mid to late, the first ones to consistently group up as either 5 or 6. And Edgy, you called this out earlier as well. It felt like TF2 Boomers were a little bit slow on the understanding that the game state has changed, that things have actually shifted away from what they were wanting, and that's actually what caught them out. They were trying to do damage control on the outer left side. They were trying to do damage control. They sent 2, and they just got caught with their pants down. That's why we saw that push every time we saw them moving around. I'm pretty sure as soon as TF2 Boomers went to fix that wave, you saw Revival like, yo, we know they're there, and they can't catch up to us. Like, Revival make me so happy that I have been proven wrong here on the day.
Yeah, I was proven wrong too. I mean, and also I feel like it's a sad day for TF2 Boomers because it was a big misplay. The early game that we talked about, but then the late game, just they felt like they didn't know where the enemies were, and that's Game Sense 101, being able to kind of read. Obviously, this is not Dota. There aren't 3 lanes, there's 4. There aren't 5 players, there's 6. There's a lot more variables in mind, and that was beautifully played by Revival. They were able to really work the meta game, the macro game, quite well there.
Here's a question for you guys. What do you think TF2 Boomers could have done to prevent that snipe at the end? Is it something as simple as just making sure you have those lanes pushed out, or was going for mid-boss at all a mistake?
Oh, no. I don't think it was the mid-boss that was the mistake. It was the immediately following and staying as a clump, which would be spotted, and then an opening. They left an opening for their base.
Yes.
They don't have base bosses. So when you leave an opening like that, where you're not even getting info as to where the enemies are, you just lose. You know, you're just saying, hey, my back door's open, come right on through. So that was the mistake they made.
I'm actually in about 100, 200, 300% agreeable. This was not. I don't think they really made a mistake going for mid boss or anything like that. Honestly, the mid boss actually tossed it more in their favor. It always felt like it was those big team fights at the end. It was like whoever catches one is going to be the end game, right? Like we saw the lady guys go down a few times. We saw the pocket go down in really rough scenarios. I mean, the Kelvin, hell, like that was a rough game for the Kelvin as well. It comes down to the fact that you have to identify. You are walking on either a pretty hefty slack rope with a lot of safety, you're walking on a thin wire, or you're walking on a knife's edge. I don't think TF2 Boomers recognized they were walking on a knife's edge at the very end, and that's just an unfortunate calculation. I think they tried their best to fight back, like they did so well, but at the end of the day, you fell off the knife and you lost.
Yeah, that was a tough spot to play from. I mean, what an exciting game, though. You couldn't ask for a better lower bracket finals. And it's a best of 1, so that means we're going to be headed straight into our grand finals of Deadlock Core 4, sponsored by Misfits Gaming Corporation. But before we get headed over there, let's go ahead and cut it to a quick break. We know some of those players are going to need a little one. We certainly need one here on the desk, and we know you as a viewer do as well. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Sick and tired of feeling like I'm living in a ghost town.